Good morning. I'm RJ Baxter, your out-of-the-box lender with your Saturday strategy. I hope you guys had a great week this week, and I appreciate you watching the video today. We're going to talk today a little bit more about appraisal waivers and why we're seeing so many more of them these days. I'm going to talk about how we arrive at a waiver, why we're seeing more of them, and then also some of the dangers involved with accepting a waiver and not getting an appraisal. So let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to explain is, how do we arrive at an appraisal waiver result? So on every application, we have to run the application through an automated underwriting system. And the underwriting system tells us whether or not, a lot of things, but one of the things is whether or not we need an appraisal. And the results of that automated underwriting is a result of the inputs that we put into the system. So it has to do with a lot of different factors. And what the system's looking at, whether it's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, is it's looking at the risk of accepting the value that we put into the system. So what it does is it analyzes data for similar homes in the vicinity of the subject property, and it determines whether or not it seems reasonable that the house is worth that much. So there's a couple factors that are leading to the fact that we're getting more waivers these days. The first is in an increasing value environment, it's deemed less risky by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac that the home is actually worth that much, because it's likely the home is going to go up in value in the near future. So that's one risk factor. Another thing is just simply the strength of the borrower. So if they're putting more down, there's less risk on the loan itself, so they're more likely to accept the value. Just as an example, if their credit score is higher, those types of things. And the other factor is just the sheer volume of transactions that are going on. So when we run the application through the computer underwriter, it's not just looking at closed home sales, it's also looking at refinances. So people that are refinancing, that data is in there as far as home values. Also, the systems can look at MLS data to analyze home values. So there is just simply more data available now as we've gone through the last 12 months, especially. So that data has led to the ability for the computer to have more to analyze. So it's leading to more waivers because of that fact. So that's part of the reason why, or a lot of the reason why we're seeing more waivers these days. And one thing I wanted to mention too is that waivers are only for conventional financing. So if you have an FHA, VA, or USDA buyer, or CHAPA, we have to get an appraisal. So that's something to keep in mind. This is a conventional only thing that we see. So that's a little bit about why we're seeing more appraisal waivers. What are the risks involved? Well, the risk is that it's a normal part of the process that as the loan file goes through the process, we have to rerun the computer underwriting findings. So it's I won't even say very common, that's just part of the process. So the underwriter underwrites the file, they'll rerun the findings. It's usually done again then after the underwriter reviews the loan conditions, for example. So the findings can be run 3, 4, 5, 6 times, some files 10 times, that kind of thing. So the risk is that as we get closer and closer to the closing date, the underwriter runs the underwriting findings again, and the appraisal waiver result is overturned, and now the system is requiring an appraisal. That it doesn't happen very often. It's pretty rare that that happens, but it does happen. So that is the risk, is that waiver result will be overturned, and then we need an appraisal, and we're very close to the closing date, which could potentially delay our closing date. Now, this is something, of course, that we discuss with our buyers if we get that waiver result, to make sure that they're comfortable with that risk and explain what the risks are. But it's something to understand going into it if we decide to not get an appraisal on a purchase contract. So give me a call if you have any other questions about appraisal waivers. They're also called property inspection waivers. I'm always happy to answer those questions. You can call, text, or email me, or anything else loan related. That's why I'm here. So just reach out anytime. And you guys have a great rest of your day. I appreciate you watching. Thanks again.